This is a review for your 8-7-8-8 quiz. So none of this is new, but this is just a way for you to prepare for your quiz. So number 1 says give the slope and the y-intercept for the equation. So the easiest way to do this is to just get it into slope-intercept form, and then we have the slope and the y-intercept. So I need to get y by itself. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take 4x away from both sides. So I'm left with 3y equals, and then I always like to write this with the coefficient and that variable first. So I'm going to do negative 4x plus 12. Y is still not by itself, so I need to divide each of these by 3. So now I have y by itself, negative 4 over 3x, and then 12 over 3 is 4. So all I did to get this into slope-intercept form is I got y by itself. I solved this equation for y. Now that I have it in slope-intercept form, my slope, represented by m, is that number before the variable, or before x. So my slope is negative 4 over 3, and then my y-intercept is that plus b. So you could either write b equals or y equals 4. And since it's a y-intercept, we can write it as 0, 4. So again, that slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. Number 2 says graph the equation using the slope and the y-intercept. So first, I'm going to find my slope. I'm going to find my y-intercept. Slope is that number before the x, so my slope is negative 3 over 4. And then my y-intercept is 6, so I'm going to write that as 0, 6. And now I start by graphing my y-intercept. So I'm going to go to 0, up 6. There's my y-intercept. And then my slope is negative 3 over 4, which means down 3 over 4. Down 3 over 4, because remember it's rise over run. So down 3 over 4. And then I'm going to just keep going and make a couple more points. So down 3 over 4. And now I have enough to graph my line. And there we have it. There is the graph for that equation. Number 3 says graph the equation using any method. So we have y equals negative 6. A good thing to keep in your notes that you should use during the quiz is that when you have y equals a number, you are going to have a horizontal line. When you have x equals a number, you are going to have a vertical line. So when y equals negative 6, all you have to do, that's like the y-intercept, so go 0, negative 6, and then you just make a horizontal line at that point. So again, you should write that down. Number 4 says find the equation of the line through the given points. Express your answer in slope-intercept form. So the first thing that I am going to do is I'm going to find the slope. I'm going to do this by taking y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So then if I label these points, this would be x1, y1, x2, y2. Then I just plug them in. So y2 is negative 5 minus negative 4 over negative 3 minus 0. So all I just did was I plugged in those coordinates to my equation. So now I have negative 5 plus 4, so I have negative 1 over negative 3, which a negative over a negative is a positive, so my slope is 1/3. Then we have to find the y-intercept. So we can do that a couple ways. The first way would be writing out an equation in point-slope form. So y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And we could solve that, get it into slope-intercept form. But looking at our points, this point is already the y-intercept. 0, -4 is the y-intercept. We know that because that's where the graph is going to cross the y-axis. So I can just write out my equation, y equals mx plus b. M is my slope, so I have 1/3 x. And then my y-intercept is -4, so I'm going to write that as -4. And there is my equation. The next one, we are given a line and we have to write an equation for it. So we're going to write this equation in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. So we have y equals, well, our slope is our rise over run. So I'm going to just start at this point. My rise is 1, 2, so -2 over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. -2 over 5. It's a -2 because we're going down. It's a +5 because we're going to the right. So now I have my slope, so I'll plug in my x, plus, and then this is just the y-intercept, which is at 0, 3, so +3. And then number 6 says write the equation of the graph line. Well, what I told you before is that when we have a vertical line, it's going to be x equals a number. And it's whatever number that line crosses through on the x-axis. So it crosses through -3. So this equation would be x equals -3. Number 7 says write an equation in point-slope form to represent the table. So we're given a table, we need to write this in point-slope. First thing we need to do is find the slope. So I'm going to write these as ordered pairs. So we have -1, 8, and 1 and 2. I'm going to find the slope of this line by using these 2 points. So I'm going to use my formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And then I'm just going to plug in my numbers here. So we have 2 minus 8, because those are our 2 y values. And then we have 1 minus -1. So from here, I'm going to simplify. 2 minus 8 is going to give me -6. 1 minus -1 is 2. So now I have -6 over 2. Slope does not need a 1 on the bottom, but it does need to be simplified. So I can divide these both by 2, and I'm left with a -3 over 1, which is really just -3. So now we know our m is -3. Then for point-slope form, that's y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And if I were you, I would write that formula down. Use that on your quiz. So now we're just going to plug in what we know. So y minus, and I can choose any one of these points. So y1, let's just go with, we'll do 2, 1. So we'll do 2 equals, our slope is -3 times x minus, and then that x value is 1. And there is my equation written in point-slope form. Number 8 says a plumber charges a fee and an hourly charge. After 2 hours, the total bill is $130. After 5 hours, the total bill is $235. Where you need to write an equation in slope-intercept form to represent the situation. So I'm going to make these into ordered pairs. I know that after 2 hours, they're making $130. So that's my first ordered pair, 2, 130. And then after 5 hours, they're making $235. So that's my second ordered pair. Now the first thing I'm going to do is find the slope. So I'm going to use that equation y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And then I'm just plugging in my numbers. So my two y values, we have 235 minus 130 over my two x values, 5 minus 2. 235 minus 130 leaves me with 105 over 3. Then I'm going to simplify that. I'm going to divide both by 3, and I'm left with 35 over 1. So that's my slope. And then I need to find my y-intercept. So I'm going to do that by putting this in point-slope form and changing it to slope-intercept form. So I have y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. I'm going to choose this first point to work with. So my y1 is 130. My m, my slope, is 35. And then we have times x minus, and my x1 is 2. Then I'm going to simplify this. So I have y minus 130 equals, and I'm going to distribute 35 times x gives me 35x. And then we have plus negative 2, so we'll do plus, and then 35 times negative 2 is negative 70. So then I'm going to rewrite this as y minus 130 equals 35x minus 70. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 130 to both sides because I want to get y by itself. And I'm left with y equals 35x. And then I'm going to take negative 70 plus 130, and I'm left with 60. So all we did there was we put our knowledge, what we knew, into point-slope form, and then we got y by itself to change that into slope-intercept form. So it says describe what the slope and y-intercept mean. So the slope, our m, is how much the plumber is making every hour. So the plumber is making $35 every hour. So slope is $35 every hour. And then our y-intercept, so you could write that as y or b, that $60 is how much the plumber is going to charge no matter what. If he works or she works 20 hours or 0 hours, it's still going to be $60 charge. So $60 to start. And then it asks how much would it cost after 8 hours of work. All we have to do is we have to plug in 8 to our formula and solve. So y equals 35 times 8 is 280 plus 60. Then we solve that and we're left with $340. So for 8 hours, it's going to cost $340. Few things to just write down in your notes that would be helpful to use on your quiz. Slope-intercept form. I'm going to change that. Y equals mx plus b. M is the slope. B is the y-intercept. Point slope form is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So m is your slope, and then x1, y1 is any point. And then y equals a number is going to be a horizontal line,